conversations entail. The Honourable Member for Calgary-Midnapore, resuming debate.
Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Rise in the House of Commons as Shadow Minister for Democratic Institutions to speak on Bill C-278, also known as the Foreign Lobbyist Transparency Act. This private member's bill, brought forward by the member for Renfrew-Nipissing-Pembrooke, makes crucial adjustments to the Lobbying Act to counteract foreign interference in our free and democratic system. This bill is an effective and invaluable piece of legislation that will increase transparency of foreign lobbyists and their influences, seen and unseen, on Canadian politics. C-278 accomplishes this with two primary legislative changes. Firstly, lobbyists who are funded by a foreign national, a non-resident corporation, or a non-resident organization will be required to publicly disclose that information. Secondly, these entities must also disclose whether they are using grassroots communication that could negatively impact the government's ability to consult the Canadian public on a specific course of action. Together, these changes provide Canadians with information necessary to see how foreign lobbyists could be impacting Canadian politics. Présentement, le registre canadien des lobbyistes.
At the present time, the Lobbying Commission gets Canadians information, very helpful information on those trying to influence government policy. Canadians can find out what individual is doing or which individuals are lobbying through which organizations, what is at stake, as well as the lobbying methods used. The changes to the legislation, to the Lobbying Act, has included a new kind of information to the long list of information which is already collected by the Lobbying Commissioner. This is a change that will have major benefits. Canadians, with this bill, will now have a better idea of the lobbying of foreign organizations and will be more aware of foreign influence on public policy.
Democracies provide their citizens with transparency. Canadians deserve an open government that can assure them that they are not being unknowingly manipulated by foreign entities. We cannot assume that foreign corporations or organizations don't have malicious motivations. Canadians and the government need to know what organizations or corporations are foreign funded so that we have a greater understanding of the possible conflicts with the issues that they may be lobbying on behalf of. We can't have foreign lobbying groups pretending that they have domestic concerns when in reality they represent foreign interests. Canadians should be the only ones determining their domestic policies. Foreign lobby groups can be especially malicious when using grassroots lobbying strategies. Grassroots lobbying occurs when lobbyists persuade the public on a given issue instead of government officials. Public support of an issue can aid in the persuasion of policymakers. Foreign lobbyists using grassroots strategies can be alarming, since the public may not be receiving the bigger picture of the issue and can be manipulated into believing in a policy that is beneficial for these foreign entities, but bad for Canadians. Grassroots campaigns also have the ability to interfere with government consultation processes. The government and Canadians deserve a fair and accurate consultation. If this is being impeded by groups with foreign interests, Canadians should have the right and the ability to know this. The use of grassroots lobbying is easier than ever. With social media, lobbyists can deliver information to citizens faster than ever before. Individuals are posting and sharing constantly whether the information is real or fake. Canadians deserve to know not only if foreign corporations or organizations are lobbying Canadian officials, but whether or not they plan to use Canadians to do their bidding. When these groups are internationally funded, their motivations should have the opportunity to be questioned. Canadians deserve transparency and the ability to know when they are being manipulated. Le gouvernement doit commencer à
The government must start taking seriously foreign interference. Members on the other side of the House have to deal with and protect from foreign interference in elections through C-278. Now, Canadians must be the only ones able to decide Canadian elections and not foreign entities. The Liberal government has to eliminate the possibility of foreign interference. Canadians deserve to know where the money funding elections comes from, and governments must ensure that third parties are completely transparent, especially if these third parties decide to engage in pre-electoral advertising. They must be transparent, and Canadians must know where the money comes from. The government has not taken seriously foreign influence on campaigns, and we would need C-278. Today, we are offering the opportunity to deal with foreign influence engaged in through lobbying. Present legislation simply doesn't go far enough. Our democracy, our very democracy, is at stake, and Canadians, and only Canadians, should be able to influence our democracy. As a conservative, and as conservatives, we know that all Canadian votes count. But the government has to work harder to prevent foreign entities from weakening our democratic institutions.
Keeping our democratic institutions safe. Foreign influence in elections is a credible and global threat. The Canadian security establishment has already recognized, as well the Prime Minister himself, that foreign influence took place in the 2015 election and is expected to increase significantly in 2019, as it has in recent elections around the globe. We can't have our elections or our domestic policy influenced by foreign entities. Our democratic institutions and government will begin to crumble if we let them succumb to foreign influence. Canadians, Mr. Speaker, deserve a system of governance that they can trust. This bill put forward by my honourable colleague is a way for Canadians to be confident that Canadian policy is not being unduly manipulated by foreign entities who wish to interfere. It is essential that Canadians maintain trust in their democratic systems for our government to be effective in protecting Canadians and providing them with services. When foreign actors start having an impact on domestic policies behind closed doors, that trust, Mr. Speaker, begins to fade. Canadians should be the only ones making the decisions for Canada. When foreign-funded entities are getting involved with lobbying the government or getting involved in our elections, Mr. Speaker, Canadians have the right to know. My colleague mentioned Vivian Krause, who has been researching the oil sands, and this touches dearly upon my home of Alberta, Mr. Speaker, for nearly a decade, and she told her studies have led her to believe that the push against the oil sands is funded by American philanthropists in an effort to landlock Alberta oil so that it cannot reach overseas markets where it would obtain a higher price per barrel. She estimates about $90 million, Mr. Speaker, over the last 10 years has gone towards various efforts to restrict oil and gas development and export from Alberta. So again, Mr. Speaker, Canadians in my home province of Alberta, but also across the country, have a right to know when their democratic institutions are being compromised. Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.